Okay, season 2, Mary Sibley, obviously it's the witches' war and everything, and she's got now a big witches' rival coming to town. Where is this journey going to take her this season?
Good question. We're still shooting it, so I don't know. I think that the fact that she believes John dead again at the beginning of the season, she has her son, you get to see a very different side to Mary, because it's much more about her fighting for her son and her love for her son and a new world, and she's being manipulated still, as per usual, the whole Essex witch clan and manipulating her in order for her to complete the grand rite. She definitely has a lot more enemies this season, and very few allies, so you see her toughen up somewhat because you don't get to see her break down in the same way she did last year. There's a maturity to her this year, I think.
Well, I think there's a new romance on the horizon too. Can you talk a little bit about that for her?
There's, what's interesting is that there are 2 new guys who've joined the show, and it's still early days with them, but Mary loves John, like that's sort of the bottom line of it. But we all know that you can be attracted to other people when you love someone, and you can have different relationships with other people. And I think the addition of Stuart Townsend, who plays Dr. Wainwright, he really taps into the darker side of Mary in a really interesting way. I won't tell you any more than that. And Joe Doyle, who plays Sebastian, he is someone that Mary sort of needs somewhat, and they'd be like Bonnie and Clyde together, I think. Like, he is just as bad as Mary, so it's an interesting dynamic. The way this character's written, and what I love about her the most, is all her emotions are always bubbling just here, and you don't know which one's going to come out. And so for an actor, that's such a challenge, but it also means that you can go so big and you can play around and go with whatever comes out in a moment, and that's quite exciting for me.
Well, we're going to see any more development between Mary and Cotton this season, because it seemed like there was, a friendliness, at least a friendship that could be kindling there. Is that something that's going to develop?
I'll be honest, I feel like there is a sort of friendship, but I think Mary just finds it very easy to manipulate Cotton. And especially last season, because he was always feeling sorry for himself, and he's a big drunk. Interesting to see, once he sort of pulls himself together, if he actually manages to figure out that Mary is a witch and what will happen then.
Well, he was willing to stab his own father to save her. I mean, it seemed like he can.
But his father was crazy, and he knew me as not a witch, and I think I did a pretty good convincing job at showing him I wasn't. I cried. Did you see that? I loved the episode where Tituba was accused, where Mercy came out the house and she said about Tituba. I thought that was a great episode. I really enjoyed that one. I think it was 8 or 9. I love them all. Well, I mean, we didn't leave off it particularly last season. I think that Tituba, she is like family to Mary. They're witches, therefore they're sisters. And she doesn't trust her, and rightfully so. And I also think that Tituba doesn't really trust Mary. But they do protect each other, and they have a complicated relationship. And I do think that Tituba loves Mary in so many ways, but Mary doesn't treat her particularly well, so it's difficult to know what's going to happen with those characters. It's really complicated. I feel like she's sort of the stuff that we've had this season feels like one moment we're sort of having a breakthrough and maybe we're going to repair our relationship, and then snap at each other again, and so we clash. So who knows whether I think that's going to be an ongoing thing, because there's so many enemies for Mary right now. Each have got their own. Mercy's crazy, and you just don't know what she's going to do. She's like a uncontrollable ball of fire. She could just explode at any moment. So she's incredibly dangerous. Anne is very dangerous because she's a blood witch, and you find out as the season goes on, she's actually incredibly powerful. And if she learns to harness those powers, and Mary's not in control of her, then she could be a real threat. And then Lucy Lawless, who is a much older, wiser witch and could kill Mary just like that. So Mary's kind of just trying to play all of this out, knowing that she's not a blood witch. She came into witchcraft much later. She doesn't know the history of witchcraft, but she obviously has something special because she's managed to do so much.
Is all this witch war going to be out in the open, or is it going to be behind the doors still?
Well, it obviously can't happen in front of the Puritans, but as we know, Mary is very good at manipulating situations and double meanings with what she says and what situations that are going on. Also, she has another battle going on. There's a new Puritan character, and he's so evil, and he just talks to women like crap. His name, is Hawthorne. And I feel like he's such a threat to Mary in other ways, but you feel like you just want Mary to kill him, because he's so mean and he says horrible things to women that you just hope that she just gets him.
With Lucy Lawless's character coming to town, Countess Marburg, is that going to be like a friction-filled relationship, or are they going to have a mentor-mentee? How is that going to develop?
Well, what's interesting about that relationship and what I think is playing quite well is Marburg needs Mary, and Mary can't defeat Marburg. So Mary is quite submissive, or so it seems, and they grin and bear each other, but you feel like at any moment one is going to snap. And so far neither have yet, but they're kind of being nice to each other, but you know that it's going to happen at some point.
Where do you think Mary Sibley's moral compass is at this point? Is she kind of just lost, or is there some sort of redeeming feature for her?
Well, I think that the only thing that's sort of keeping her moral compass going completely one way, because when we picked up the first season, there was maybe like a tiny flicker of her humanity left, and the presence of John back in Salem, it made it become more, and she became more and more conflicted with what she was doing. At the beginning of the second season, she believes John's dead, but she has her son, and Mary is the master of rationalizing her behavior, like anybody does. Like, nobody thinks that what they're doing is evil. They do it believing it's the greater good. And I think for her, it's all about like protecting her son, creating a world in which she can have her son without, being frowned upon by the Puritan society, or like having a child out of wedlock. And that's what she's fighting for.
Why doesn't she flee with him? You'd think she'd want to get him away from all these dangerous elements.
I thought about this last year. This was something I thought when she was going to leave with John. And I thought, well, she could leave. But I actually think that was more in a moment she thought she could leave with John. But going back and thinking about it, you give your soul over to the Dark Lord, there's no escaping. Like, she's in it now. She can't run away from it. At this point, Mary isn't aware of John. She doesn't know he's alive yet. So I think that's something that's going to happen as the season goes on. And she's still in a lot of pain from that, but I think when she finally finds out he's dead, which he isn't, but she believes him to be dead, I think she uses that, and that somehow gives her a closure on that, and then you see her sort of fuck the pain away. And I feel like Mary, that's a lot of what Mary's going through, and it's like she's got to toughen herself back up again, and so she's being extra nasty to Tituba in certain moments, and snapping at people and like fucking the pain away.
Nice.